Good morning. I would like to officially welcome you to the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Sunday Service Celebration for March the 21st. And Reverend Rick is taking this week off, and he actually took the week off. So we won't be seeing his lovely face today. And I want to just let you know we changed the order up just a little bit for today so it flows nicely for Vernon, who is doing our tech without Reverend Rick's support. So Vernon, would you like to do our candle lighting?
Candle on the front.
Yes. And if any of you have a candle, you're welcome to go ahead and light it now. And with the lighting of the candle, we purely embrace and embody and welcome the presence of Spirit manifest. And that's in, through, and as each one of us. And with the official welcome this morning, I have a very special piece to share with you that your board and your leadership has actually been waiting to be able to share with you. That is an update from Reverend Carolyn. And so I believe everyone here is probably aware that the initial cause for Reverend Carolyn to be on a medical sabbatical has to do with challenges she has with her liver. And so then she knew she needed to take some extended time off to transform that experience for herself. And that has manifested in the opportunity for Reverend Carolyn and her daughter Tracy to go through what is called a liver transplant. And that is exactly what it says. They're going to go through a surgical procedure probably the first week of May to give Carolyn a part of Tracy's liver. And they are a match, and all of that has been figured out. And that process that they've been through is part of why it has taken us this long to be able to share with you all that this is part of what's happening, because we wanted to wait until we were sure. And some of you may have seen Tracy's post on Facebook. So what's true, I'm going to ask you to just kind of take that in with your heart for just a moment and set it aside for our Sunday service today. During announcements, there's going to be some more information about that. And then at the end of service, during sharing time, God bless sharing time, we will have an opportunity for any questions that you might have and just be able to hang out and talk about that. And anything else that you might have, bring to today with your hearts. And so that being said, now we will turn this over to Miss Pat, who is one of our practitioners of the day, for opening prayer.
Thank you, Vicky. Well, here we are again in our happy place. And I invite you to settle in where you are and use your mind to open your heart to what you're about to hear. A recognition of one God and one life. And that life is the life of every person, all animals, all nature. And that life unites us as one family. We are here to grow. We are here to support each other, to be the foundation of change in the world. Because why not us? Why not us, and why not a world that works for everyone, that begins right here with like-minded people? And gratefully, I close this prayer knowing all is well, all is good, and we are one family. and so it is. And now, as Reverend Rick told you last week, we have Kim Bebo from Oregon, who is going to be working with us as practitioner, and she's going to get her feet wet today and do our opening reading.
And just for clarity, Kim, that will transition after opening song. Vernon's going to do our opening song, and then Kim will take over with.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We changed that, and I forgot to look. Thank you.
Okay.
We have come together as a family. We have come here as we are. Yes. And we have come with arms wide open. We have gathered here in love. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Let's sing it together. Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with shouts of praise. Spirit's in this place. We sing in celebration. We sing with words of prayer. We sing with words of prayer. We affirm our life as sacred. We declare that peace is here. Yeah, Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Ooh, Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with shouts of praise. Spirit's in this place. Ooh. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh. Spirit is in this place. Let's sing it. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in.
Good morning. It is lovely to be here. And my name is Kim Bebo, as Vicky said, and I'm from the Grants Pass Center of Spiritual Living in Grants Pass, Oregon. I'm a ministerial student in my senior year, and I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am to be able to speak even this short piece for you this morning. Place yourself in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom which flows into you as life. Place yourself in the full center of that flood, Then you are without effort impelled to truth, to right and perfect contentment. That was a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I feel like what Vicky will speak about today is the beginning of where we come into that space. And another piece, do you understand how magnificent you are? No matter what your past experiences may have been, good, bad, or otherwise, you are beautiful, talented, and creative. You are the way love, grace, and beauty show up in the world. When you look in the mirror in the morning, you've already met one of the most important people you will run into on that day. Love who you are. You are the spectacular expression of God. What's not to love? Every day, take time to affirm your love of self. Allow yourself to love just being you. And being you is a remarkable thing. There is no one on the planet quite like you. That was a little piece from Eugene Holden from the Science of Mind magazine of this month. Do you know that as you become all that is you, you come forth in your own perfect vision? I bless you on this day. Thank you.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place.
I am the place where God
You
lives,
are the place.
moves and breathes and has
We
its
are the
being.
place
I am the place
where God shows up. I am the place.
I am the place where God
You are the place.
breathes and has
We are the place
I am the place
where God shows up. I want you to clap your hands and sing it with me. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Eddie Watkins, can I have some more of that? Can we have some more of that? A little more? A little more.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Wow. Are we the place where God shows up? And good morning to those who are just arriving. We're so glad to see you. We had to wait until opening song played out. Technically, it's an interruption if we try to let people in while the song is playing. So I think you guys might notice we rolled right into that from the lovely reading from Miss Kim. Thank you, Kim, because that sort of speaks for itself. I think probably everybody knows Eddie Watkins, and so we just wanted to gift you with that spontaneously. It is so much my pleasure to have the opportunity to speak this morning. Most of you, I think, are aware that the theme for the month is visioning, and I absolutely love visioning. Louisville Center for Spiritual Living visions on the first Saturday of every month at 10 o'clock in the morning. After today, if you find yourself so inspired to plug into the actual process with some support, and mark that down on your calendars. And so here is the thing. Centers for Spiritual Living advocates for 3 basic spiritual practices that are like the triune nature of how we live this teaching. And they are treatment or affirmative prayer, meditation, and everybody understands something about meditation. I think if you have any sense of practice or have been dedicated to a spiritual life, you know something about meditation. And then there's visioning, and visioning is not quite as well known. It is a process that was actually given vital life in our teaching by Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. And he built Agape doing visioning. When he started and had this idea that you could work this visioning process to deepen a cooperation with spirit in a way that augments what we do with treatment, he was like starting from the very beginning. I think he started with like 5 people and said, I want to do this visioning thing and watch what happens. And Agape is what happened. And he still, to this day, visions. He still advocates for the idea that visioning is that third leg that gives that triune nature to the process of creation and co-creation with God, that it essentially makes everything possible. Now today, I'm going to be focusing on one particular aspect of visioning, but before I get to that, I just want to give you a few constructs. And so I'm going to be focusing on the relationship between affirmative prayer and visioning. And meditation, we're not going to talk about today, but meditation is like a bridge between visioning and treatment. When we meditate, we strengthen the vehicle through which these other 2 aspects of spiritual practice operate, okay? And so one of the key things to understand is that in treatment, we know that we're taking directive in prayer. We're taking directive with spirit, and we're essentially drawing from the menu. And we're saying, of all of the infinite possibilities that I could have in my life, this is what I would prefer. And we take our choice in treatment, and we take it into this phase that we call realization, and we declare our good. And the other side of that, in a cooperation, visioning is more like actually opening up the menu. Okay, so we talk about this field of infinite possibility, and you can say, well, it's limitless, anything is possible. But there is actually a means that Michael Beckwith discovered in this process called visioning, where we become like a blank slate, and we open ourselves up and we say, show me. So possibility is limitless. So in, as, and through me as a vessel of pure spirit, show me my potentials. Show me the vision, Spirit, that you would have for my life. And I have a couple of analogies I want to use to kind of show you all what I mean by this. And before I offer the analogies, I just want to name that I titled this talk today, Because, as in two words, be space cause and become. Okay, now the portion of the visioning process that I'm emphasizing today is what we have to accept. And as we accept what we have to accept to manifest a vision, what must we become? And that's where the becoming piece comes in. So last week, Reverend Rick went through the part about what must I release in order to manifest the vision of my life. Like, what are my blockages? What could possibly be in the way of me being able to just have this vision that I have for my life, what I desire to drop in, okay? And what do we know? Spirit fills a void, right? So anytime we do a releasing process, then the key is to then bring into that place, into that space, what we prefer. And that is why the next question or the next phase in the visioning process is, what is mine to embrace and become? And so the thing is that anyone who has experienced a treatment session with a practitioner probably has heard, and you will have heard in your own foundations classes or the practitioner classes that you've taken, that if we could simply get that we are one with first cause being a name for God, if and when we get ourselves to the place where we actually are relaxed into knowing that there is no separation between ourselves and the source from which we come, everything else follows after that organically. There isn't any work to do if we get to that place where we know we are one with first cause, okay? And that's where the because comes in. So anytime you are just living your life and you hear yourself say, I can't do that because, as soon as you hear that word, if you are giving cause away to something else, stop. When you hear yourself say because, if it's a detractor, that's a yellow flag. Then you know to put up your hand, stop your thoughts, take that pausing breath, just calmly. It's not about anything being wrong, but you're going to just create space around that and stop yourself, such as, you know, most of you by now have heard that one of Ernest Holmes' primary tenets is not to ever give up our power of choice. Well, one way not to give up our power of choice is to stop and realize that the primary cause in our lives is within us. The primary cause in our lives is our own expression and relationship with Spirit. And that's why practicing these things, practicing affirmative prayer, practicing meditation, practicing visioning, keeps this vehicle that we express being Spirit through tuned up to having it all flow easily. And so as we strengthen our ability to know and live from the idea that we are one with first cause in our lives, then becoming we can become in actual experience what we would choose, certainly in quality. How things show up literally, like what the details are going to be, that's going to be a process of spirit. But with regard to the quality that we're directing, when we know that we are one with first cause, then anything becomes possible in becoming, and then it's just an adventure in how that actually unfolds. Now, I want to give you a couple analogies, because a lot of people have, I think, held back a little bit from actually engaging the visioning process, because they hear it's like it's a guided meditation, and how is that any different than meditations I've done before, and what is that exactly going to do for me? So here's a couple of analogies, okay? One is, if any of you have ever built your own house, and or if you've ever seen someone build their own house from the beginning, okay? So a person who is not a builder themselves, they have this feeling, and they maybe have seen things that they would like in their own house, and they say, you know, I would like a house that feels just like that, okay? So you have this idea for the feeling that you like in your home. Well, anyone who's actually done that before that isn't a builder knows the next thing you do is you find yourself a builder. And what the builder is going to do is the builder is going to develop blueprints. The builder is going to supply that person with a number of potentials of how they can actually achieve the feeling that they're wanting in their house, okay? And visioning is like that. So spirit is the creator. We are co-creators, but we are not the creator. We are not the builder. The master builder, the creator, is God. And when we open ourselves up to saying, show me my potentials. I have this desire flowing out of me. Show me my potentials. And visioning is like opening yourself up to the blueprint. Okay, so that's one example. Then you take the blueprint and you get to choose. You get to say, well, I like this, but I don't know if that's going to work for me, and all this kind of thing. And it becomes a cooperation. So the other analogy that I want to show you here is how many of you have been to these awesome things where you can go, it's a painting shop, and you can go in, and the people that run it, they provide the canvas and they provide the paint, and most of them provide a little wine or a little fruit juice or something, and you can just go and have a party and learn to paint, right? So the thing is that they have any number of original things that you can choose from. Like if you're a party and you take a party in there, they're going to have several canvases that you can use to choose from, and then they take one and they set it up there, and then they literally work with you to walk you through how you do that, right? And how many of you have noticed that you can have 25 people in the room, and all 25 of them can aim for and follow those instructions, but what happens? Every single one of those paintings is completely unique. It has your own signature on it. It's a beautiful, magnificent thing, okay? And so now, what would happen if you went into one of those paint shops and you had everything you needed, but you didn't have the vision put before you of what you might aim for? Can you still do the painting or a painting? Can you still take the paints and do, you know, something, right? But if you don't have the vision of what's possible, then it's going to be more random, and that's fine. It's unique. That's like doing treatment without checking in on a visioning. That's like checking in and saying, this is what I want, but I'm not checking in with the vision on the other side, sort of, okay? Any one of these processes is going to take you to the core of being. Visioning, meditation, and treatment. They're all a process within themselves with nothing left out. But when we work them together, the results are exponential, okay? And so those are the three analogies that I have for you. And I want to give you an example of this from my own life. And that's one of the reasons I get so excited about visioning. I was excited about visioning when this happened to me. And then after it did, I was like, okay, then this just ramps it up, 10 times as much. Because some of you might have heard me say by now that I actually launched into getting into ministerial school doing visioning. Okay. I have been a practitioner for 30 years. And at intervals all along the way as a practitioner, people would come to me for any number of reasons, and they'd say, so Vicky, when are you going to be when are you going to become a minister? Well, no, and no, and no, and no. Okay, for 30 years. So some of you may remember, like in 2018, 2019, I did the visioning class. I led the visioning class 2 times in a row. Okay, now the visioning course is 8 weeks long. And that means pretty much back to back, I was visioning for myself and for the classes for, 4 months consistently. And sure enough, it was during the second round of visioning, I was doing my own personal process one morning. And God bless Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. He has a recording, and any one of you that would like to have this recording pursuant to this talk, that want to just experience this led by just, the recording and be on your own, I am happy to provide that to you. He has this part in there, talk about becoming. He gets to this part and he says, what are you willing to become? Just say yes. And I'm sitting there and I'm in this zone and I just say yes. And then I realize, oh my God, I just said yes to signing up for ministerial school. And I was there and I knew there was mine to do. And normally, except for being in that zone, I would have checked 13 things out from Sunday, and I would have asked this and what about that and how is this going to work and how is that going to work. But I knew, okay, this is it. So when we talk about, like last week, Reverend Rick talked about what is mine to release, I knew I had to let go of all those whys and wherefores that had been, coming up for 30 years and whatever. I had to let all that go. And then I had to say, okay, what is mine to become? And in that moment, what I knew was mine to become is open to the idea that this was already done in the mind of God, and it was only for me to stay available to it, knowing that I am one with first cause, and there isn't going to be anything that holds us up. So I hadn't even told Vernon, of course, because this happened spontaneously. So Vernon got home, and rather than coming to him and saying, honey, what would you think if I was to sign up for ministerial school? I had to say to him, honey, I got to tell you, I just put in my application for ministerial school, and we're just going to go for a ride, okay? And so that's one example of what it means to become. Did I know exactly what I had to become after that? No, I only knew that I had to become fully embodied of this belief that I have, that if I am one with cause, then that which is larger than myself, and yet all that I am, is going to then unfold the way that this happens. And sure enough, so what are some of the things that happen? Okay, talk about the graces of COVID. And I'm not saying that COVID is a good thing at all. Spirit could have done this any number of ways. But prior to March of last year, there were all kinds of requirements to like go to Florida and stay in a hotel and travel and do all these different things, which absolutely, if we get back to where we can do that, I will be doing that. But it amazed me how like those requirements were one of the things I was like, can I afford to be gone that long? How do I manage, not only paying for class, but paying for travel, paying for hotels and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, none of that was there. And how seamless has it been for me to just be able to embrace walking through the classes. And absolutely, now that I'm in that flow, and now that I'm, a year into like a 3-year process, do I know that when things get back where we can go to Florida? Yes, I'm in Florida because I'm there, and I'm in the knowing that that is who and what I am. And so that's a part of the kind of things that happen when you trust and just stand in the becoming. Okay, you've got your because, and then you stand in the becoming. Spirit then shows the way, and that's part of having that faith in believing before we see it. And so having the faith in what we believe in before we see the manifestation of it is one thing that gets easier when you practice the visioning process. And I didn't say before, I'm absolutely I'm getting ready to wrap this up. And for the meditation today, I'm going to actually walk you through a mini visioning so that you can see how all of this works together. So the last thing that I want to say before we actually do that is that on the affirmative prayer side, the key is coming into a zone where there is no separation from source. And everyone is a practitioner, so anyone who can get themselves to the feeling where there is no separation between themselves and their source, and then they speak their word, it's there. You don't have to be trained as a practitioner like professionally to do that. When you have a knowing and you speak your word, it's immediate. It's right now. And that's the same thing that a practitioner does. So that's on the treatment side. On the visioning side, that there's a same piece to that. And in the openness, where we're not as much doing the directive, that same piece that where everything else falls in is to develop an atmosphere of pervasive unconditional love. Okay? The essence from which everything comes is literally intelligent, timeless, eternal love. And that word strikes people in different places. So wherever you can get to a feeling of love or compassion, whether it be for yourself or for animals or for your children, wherever your purest zone of that feeling of love is, that's where you want to drop into to get into a visioning state. And as you practice that, your capacity for the unconditional love that we are, that Spirit has for you, will expand. All you have to do is just start where you are, and never mind if anyone else would agree. Your experience of love is your experience of love. And Reverend Dr. Michael, he does it so beautifully. He spends like a third of the time in the visioning process developing that atmosphere and encouraging people, wherever you go, to drop into unconditional love, go there. And from that unconditional love, then you're just holding yourself open, and you start with a question, and then it goes from there. And we're gonna do that briefly here. I think just about right now. Let me just make sure there isn't anything that I haven't said. Okay, let's just go ahead and do that. And this is a mini. This is not going to be a full visioning by any means, but I want to show you the steps and show you what happens. Just know that in the actual visioning process, you can take expanded time, because it's about holding yourself open, asking a question that develops into a series of questions, and then you spend time after you ask each one. You spend time then to receive whatever the impressions might be, so forth. So just take a moment now. First, we're going to just take a pausing breath to move from listening and thinking and wondering and all of the things that one does during a presentation, and to dropping into stillness. Signal to your body that for right now, there's nothing you have to do and nowhere you have to go. Your body can just be your body, and everything's all right. And as you take a few more breaths into relaxation, start where you are in your relationship to visioning. Some of you have done visioning, perhaps some of you have not. But we're going to put the concept of visioning into the center of this virtual circle that we're in. We're going to allow visioning itself to show us. We're going to allow visioning to be the teacher. A universal question that most people can relate to, that we're going to do within this just mini example, is what is the highest and best vision of spirit expressed in, as, and through my life? So that's a basic question. And that's the first question that we ask. What is the highest and best vision of spirit expressed in, as, and through my life? And then there's a pause, and you let that roll around. And in the actual visioning process, each question is asked twice to really give it room. And then the facilitator will say something like, next question. And the next question is, what does this vision look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? And that's to engage the actual physical body in this process that is spirit and soul oriented. Because it's a package deal. We are spiritual beings having a very human experience. And so we draw the body in there. That question is asked twice, and we have a pause, we can receive. And then the next question is, what is mine to release in order to manifest this highest and best vision of spirit expressed as my life? What is mine to release? What do I have to let go of? You take a moment with that. Just let it roll around. The question is asked twice. You breathe and relax. And the next question is, what is mine to embrace? What do I have to accept in order to manifest this highest and best vision? Breathe and make room. Recognizing the question would be asked twice. Notice that what I have to embrace is distinct from the next question, which is, what must I become? What must I become in order to manifest this highest and best vision of spirit expressed in, as, and through my life? That question is asked twice. And then generally when the facilitator gets to the last question, it will be cued. And I would say, last question. What more is mine to know in consciousness about this vision now? What more is mine to know in consciousness about this vision now? And then ideally, you just have some time to allow the whole process to simmer and find its place. And ideally, closing at that point with a treatment is a very, very good thing, because they do work together. And so I recognize the one life that is first cause of all creation, one source, one love, one law, that meets me where I show up. So here I am, open and receptive and offering directed It's a dance. It's a dance between the vision and the opportunity to creatively craft that vision in, through, and as myself. Mind, heart, and soul. And from this alignment, I realize right here and right now, on behalf of each person within the sound of my voice, that these processes are increasingly integrated. These processes are moving in, through, and as each individual here, speaking in their language, according to their signature and their way, as an expression of spirit. And that the collective is exponential as we support each other in the field of consciousness. That is the community of Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. For this time and for this knowing, and for knowing what comes manifest of it in the actual experience. Thank you, Presence of Life, for this and so much more. In joy and gratitude unbounded, I release it with the heart of a child, and I let it be, and so it is.
Thank you, Vicky. I want to add just my own thought on visioning. Visioning for me is a process. It's a spiritual art form. And just like any other art form, you need to practice it. And it takes a while. Excuse me. It takes a while to get good at it, but you will. At first, it feels awkward. But you will get used to it, and it will produce some very interesting results for you. So now we're moving into prosperity, and in your, if I can get this to work here, in the chat is the prosperity announcement or affirmation, and I just want you to know that I am receiving your gifts. And every time I post one of those for you, I bless you immensely, because without you and your support, we couldn't do this. So thank you for the checks you send to the P.O. Box, for the donations through Givelify and through PayPal. And thank you for being here every Sunday. This week's affirmation, I will read it, say it to you, and then we'll say it together. When I trust the universe, I am happy, prosperous, and well. Say it with me. When I trust the universe, I am happy, prosperous, and well. Thank you. Also, I'm now putting on my hat for announcements. And I just want to remind you that we'll be doing sharing after the closing song, after the benediction and the closing song. So please stay and ask any questions you have about the visioning process, or any questions you have about anything else that you've heard here today. Then we also want to remind you that if you would like a practitioner session, Vernon can put myself or Vicky, whoever you choose, into a breakout room after the sharing, and we can do a similar type group treatment the way we used to do when we met together. Just hang on through the sharing, and we will get to you after that. We'll ask you if you're staying for that. Also know that if you'd like private prayer service, we are always available. Then my third announcement is goes back to what Vicky mentioned this morning. We had an update from Reverend Carolyn. Some of you know what's going on because you saw it on Facebook, and others of you who don't have that do not know. So I'm just going to read for those who didn't see it on Facebook, Tracy's post, so you have an idea what's going on. And then after this, the benediction and closing song, if you have questions about that, you can ask during the sharing portion, because we understand there may be some. During the closing song, I will also put Tracy's address in the chat, so you can send whatever information, cards, whatever. But here we go. Let me read this. Let me take a little drink here. Excuse me again. Okay, these are Tracy's words. Surgery for Mom and I have been fully approved. Okay, that's the interest-grabbing headline. Here's the short story. Mom needs a new liver. I'm giving her part of mine. Now here's some details. On May 3rd, tentatively, Mom and I will be undergoing organ transplant surgery at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio for me to donate 67% of my liver to her. This type of liver transplant is called a living donor transplant, whereby the portion she receives will regenerate into a full liver within months. The portion I am left with will also regenerate back into a full-size liver. Don't worry if you have had no idea that this was even in the works. Very few people were told. But I can bring you all up to speed now that we've gotten final approval. Mom, Bob, and I will be relocating to Cleveland for about 7+ weeks. Mom is required to stay close to the hospital for 6 weeks after the surgery for follow-up. So we're getting a house for all of us to stay in. While we're in Cleveland, I will have a house sitter staying at my house to watch the dog and the horses. We will be starting a fundraising campaign, something like GoFundMe, to help cover out-of-pocket expenses that are associated with the surgery. I will come back to post the link here once it's up. That would be on Facebook. More details about our journey will be included on that page. If you would like to share our fundraising campaign to your Facebook page or share it directly with your family and friend, please do so. The fundraising page will have all the details, so please just share the link. What else can you do? Well, I want to gather notes and inspirational sayings for Mom to make a book of happiness for her to look at while she's in the hospital. Direct message those to me, place them on this post, email them to me, or text them to me, and I will put them together. Nothing about get well soon, just inspiration and motivational quotes, pretty pictures, and sweet sayings. Things that make you smile. If you want to mail a card, you can send it to me and I will scan it and add it to the book. If you don't know my address, I'll message you and I'll send it to you. Thank you all. Mom and I are both excited for her to get her life back. It's going to be a long and sometimes rough road to recovery. Knowing that we have the support of our family and friends is a great comfort to us. Tracy. So, as I said, I'll put Tracy's address in the chat, and we'll move now to the benediction and closing song. And if you stay and you can bring your questions to sharing, and if you can't stay for sharing, please know that you can contact any one of us for any more information you might need. Vicky.
Thank you so much, Pat. And so in the moment of closing the mini visioning that we did, it only felt right to do a full treatment following that. And now I understand why. This is kind of like the natural unfolding of spirit that we just talked about, because I so know that the purpose of this closing treatment is for Carolyn. So as a community, hand to hand, heart to heart, let's just take a moment, breathe in to virtually realizing that in spirit right now, we are in the same room. And that not only are we circled up the way we would be if we were at Linden or at 300 Spring, gently holding hands, but the opportunity that we have virtually is that this is happening in each of our houses, in each one of these squares. We all have, there are 19 people in this Zoom right now. Just imagine that the limitations of the space that you're in open up and you have 19 people circled up around you right now. That's 19 times 19. That is the leverage of when two or more are gathered. As we say, I recognize the one life that is my life right here and right now, that is the life of everyone here present, that is the life of Reverend Carolyn Harville and her daughter Tracy and her beloved Bob Bales. There is one life, and that life is all of this life now. We are one in mind, heart, and soul. And from that alignment, I realize on behalf of this community that our experience of Reverend Carolyn is that transformation is done. She has a new liver. She has her vitality and her energy and her gift of spirit moving through her at full capacity. We set ourselves in that knowing now. As Dr. Ernest Holmes said, when we treat from what we have, it is done. We are there. We are in alignment. And in that alignment right here and right now, we have the experience of Carolyn at her most glorious, with that laughter and that love and the bright colors that she brings on a Sunday and the creativity and the playfulness is here now. And I realize in this moment that anything that is to be released, any static to be cleared or swept away, as she taught us with the broom, we just sweep away the static to the next steps of this and drop in all of the support, anything that is to be known by herself or her medical team, for both of them, and that this transformation is simply the pleasure of spirit and by grace. For this time, for this knowing, and for this profound opportunity, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I just release it, I let it be, and so it is.
I am peace, I am joy, I am love. I am peace, I am joy, I am love. I am in harmony with everything, it's a part of me. I am peace, I am joy, I am love. You are peace, you are joy, you are love. You are peace, you are joy, you are love. You are in harmony with everything, God is all you see. You are peace, you are joy, you are love. We are peace, we are joy, we are love. We are peace, we are joy, We are love. We are in harmony with everything God is all we see. We are peace. We are joy. We are love. We are peace. We are joy.